Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eric Bogosian.
To present the National Book Award for Young People's Literature is Daniel Handler. Under the name of Lemony Snickett, Daniel Handler is the author of one of the most acclaimed and best-selling series of children's books in America, A Series of Unfortunate Events, which includes 13 novels, and The Latke Who Couldn't Stop Screaming, A Christmas Story. As Lemony Snickett, he is also the author of several fictional nonfiction books, such as The Blank Book and an unauthorized autobiography which he wrote but would not authorize. Under his own name, he is the author of the adult novels The Basic Eight, Watch Your Mouth, and Adverbs. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Daniel Handler.
Thank you, Hanson. Good evening. Adjust mics to your height. It's a little haiku on the podium. It is my proud privilege to present the National Book Awards in Young People's Literature, the finest form of literature in the world. Even the heftiest of non-fiction titles slip away like unsavory ex-boyfriends when faced with the stiletto heels of its lasting power. Fiction whimpers like an abandoned orphan when the hand-crafted carriage of children's literature thunders by. And even poetry, the second mightiest of literary art forms, must reach for its smelling salts of scansion and imagery when the lumbering brute of children's literature stands at the front door with its burly fingers clenched around its knocker. Why else would the National Book Foundation be so terrified of young people's literature that they denied it an award until 1996, except for some experimentation in the 1960s, as we all did? Why, you ask? Surely someone asked. Because of love. You never love a book the way you love a book when you are a child. Enthusiastic readers are born young and made enthusiastic by the first good books that are put into their hands. Literature in all its magnificent forms would not exist were it not for the first trembles that children's literature slipped into readers' systems. Everyone here in particular, writers, agents, editors, publishers, printers, and our long-suffering, hopefully wealthy spouses, without children's literature would have no proper receptacle for our imaginary lives. We would have had to go into acting, and nobody wants that. I am gratified to report that our panel displayed an enormous and heartfelt respect for children's literature and for one another. That is basically all we agreed on. Nevertheless, these five brave souls, Holly Black, Angela Johnson, Carolyn Mackler, Cynthia Voigt, and me, the token white man, read novels, we read short stories, we read nonfiction, we read poetry, and we read, I Wish I Were Kidding, a stuffed animal. We bickered, we whittled, we finagled, we finessed, and one of us, I won't say who, fell asleep on the phone. The five survivors are as follows. It's so distracting to catch yourself in your own peripheral vision. Laurie Halse Anderson for Chains, published by Simon & Schuster. Kathy Appelt for The Underneath, published by Athenaeum, a division of Simon & Schuster. Judy Blundell for What I Saw and How I Lied, published by Scholastic. E. Lockhart for The Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks, published by Hyperion Books. And Tim Tharp for The Spectacular Now, published by Knopf. In my pronunciation guide, it said the K is pronounced in Knopf. Knopf tonight. All right, settle down. And this year's National Book Award for Young People's Literature goes to Judy Blundell for What I Saw and How I Lied. Mazel tov!
Always a terrible idea to follow Daniel Handler to any podium. Thank you, Mr. Handler. Thank you to the members of the nominating committee for this very unexpected and overwhelming honor. And to my fellow nominees, who I've met and liked so much, I was just so honored to be in your company. And of course, the National Book Foundation, who does such important work. Thank you. A very special thank you to Harold Augenbraum. Hello out there. Most of you don't know me, but I've probably worked for many of the houses in this room tonight. I've written, well, I've never counted, but I know it's well over 100 books. This is the first book I put my name on. When I started in publishing, I was a hapless and very underconfident person. Not much has changed, but I went in the back door of publishing as writer for hire. If you needed romance or adventure or science fiction or the requisite celebrity ghostwriting job, I did them all for almost 20 years. And I did the work joyfully, with joy, because as a child, I loved those books. I loved Nancy Drew. I loved Cherry Ames' Army Nurse, if we have anyone who remembers those. Thank you. Children don't discriminate. They don't categorize. They are very happy to go from The Secret Garden to Nancy Drew. And I bet there's a lot of people out there, lifelong committed readers, who remember those books that were not necessarily prizeworthy, but treasured. But if you do that sort of work for a long time, you can develop a kind of writer's amnesia. Not that you've lost your memory or your past, but your future, your voice, your writer's voice. That thing that makes you want to tell a story that's yours, that compulsion. Which brings me to my editor, David Levithan, who said to me, write something and bring it to me. And I, of course, said, what do you need? Science fiction, thriller, please not vampires. And he said, just write something. And I did. This is our 48th book together. And I don't think anybody's more surprised than David and me to see me up here. So thank you, David, my brilliant, gifted editor, for giving me back my voice. And thank you for making me rewrite chapter 33. And Scholastic, I've been there almost 10 years at the same house, and it's because it is filled with people who read, who are so excited to get good books in the hands of children. And lastly, but always first, is my family. My husband, Neil Watson, who's probably crying right now, who's the best husband a writer can have. He cooks dinner every night. And my beautiful daughter, Cleo, who's only 7, not here tonight, who's starting on her own journey as a lifelong reader, I hope, with The Wind on the Moon and Charlotte's Web and Nancy Drew. Thank you.